not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead.
When I exposed film, that there were these white guys who got to look at it first
before you
before I
did.
ever got to see it.
Yeah.
It's
So
really
for
disturbing.
me, the discussion that, well, we've had this discussion before, we've tried all these ideas, and so where film is going now, we've already had that discussion and we've never done it. I feel like, but it doesn't take into acknowledge these like immense obstacles. So I feel like right now is a really interesting time because you no longer have those obstacles. So all that energy that you used to put into fighting those obstacles and fighting the obstacles of people trying to come together and being collective, all that energy, all that brain trust just goes into, okay, let's figure out intellectually how to stay together, how to use all our intellectual, mind to make, have the business person work, the legal person work, the sociologists help the filmmakers figure it all out. So for me, that's why this time is interesting. And the idea of coming up with an aesthetic, it's more possible now because now you can talk about breadth. Because I've always felt like, the one thing that I was obsessed with when I was at Howard was this idea of like, well, there's no Black American aesthetic, and why is that? Like the debate as to why or why not. And I always felt like, well, it's a simple debate. It's just there's no, you just statistically can't come up with a model because you don't have enough data points.
Right, exactly.
Pure and simple, don't have enough data points. So you need to find a time where you can start to have enough data points and identify trends and to say, okay, this is what the aesthetic will look like.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's where at the cusp of that. So we're still not at the place where we can identify what I call the unified Black film theory is, but we're at the cusp of building the blocks. I feel like in my lifetime, I'll see the building blocks, and then the next generation of filmmakers will definitely start to say, they'll start to come up with theories and say, this is what the Black aesthetic is.
I plan on using the information I've learned over the course of this semester by passing it along. To be honest, prior to taking this class, I could only name a few Black writers before the 20th century, and one of them being Phyllis Wheatley. And the only reason why I knew of Phyllis Wheatley is because a few months in advance to enrolling in this class, I actually started reading a book called The N-Word by Jabari Sim, and in the book, they reference Thomas Jefferson talking about Black writers, Phyllis Wheatley being one of them, and how he was skeptical that they created the works that they did on their own. Also, he said that the writers, their work was okay, being that it came from Blacks. And it's crazy coming from Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States of America, one of the most influential people of that time. He pretty much laid the groundwork for a lot of modern day ignorance and racism that minorities still face today. The first time I read notes addressing the state of Virginia, it didn't really stick with me, but the second time around when we read it as a class, it stuck with me then because I found myself sending it to my friends, little snippets of what he wrote. And that's pretty much what I hope to do with all the information I've gathered over the course of this semester, is to share it.